Today's topic is lawless Britain. So as we know, Britain is lawless. You know, we see moped thefts, phones, people are just getting robbed in broad daylight. You can't wear your valuable wristwatch in central London because it will get jacked and you could lose your life as a result of having an expensive and luxurious wristwatch in central London, because these guys don't care. They don't care. I remember a few years ago, they killed, I believe, a sheikh, an Arab sheikh's son, you know, for his wristwatch. They didn't care. So Britain is clearly lawless, and we know this, we understand this. So Nigel Farage articulates that. He basically says that, you know, Britain is becoming lawless. You know, it wasn't like how it was 20 years ago. It wasn't this bad. So what's really going on here? And oftentimes Nigel Farage backs up his points with statistics. And what you're going to see from this debate is Claudia Hearn basically saying that he is fear-mongering by saying this. He's trying to, you know, rally up his base. He's trying to rally up the far right. And the craziest thing is they're going to put a question to her and say, would you go out after 9 p.m. with a Rolex on in central London? To which she's going to say, yeah, why not? And that's just a lie. You know you wouldn't do that. Like, don't lie here. Just be honest. There's a problem here. It needs to be solved, and we need to solve it, regardless of what Nigel Farage is saying. But again, they're so fixated on Nigel Farage trying to tear him down, and he's gathering steam. There's nothing they can do about it. The establishment's scared. But anyway, guys, let's get straight into the debate.
The things that I am most worried about happening to me out on the street seem to be on the way down. So is Britain lawless or not?
It depends on which sources you use, because I've got sources that tell me there's a 44% rise in street crime, over 1 million incidents of antisocial behaviour. That's not on there. Ultimately, Matt, it doesn't matter what the statistics say. People feel what they are seeing themselves. So that's what we judge it on. I walk down the high street, I am seeing people shoplifting. I am seeing people's phones being stolen. Someone's tried to take my phone at least 3 times in the last year when I'm out on the street. That's what people are seeing. So is the country becoming lawless? It is, because even when people's phones are stolen and you call the police often say, we can't do anything. Here's the address, I'm find my phone. This is the address where my phone has been taken to. And the police say, there's nothing we can do about it. File a number.
That's investigation of the crime, right? That's actually coming to a solution about it.
Yeah.
Are you saying that you feel more danger on the streets? And let's face it,
100%.
You're a big fella.
I am.
You know, if anybody's going to feel confident on the streets, it would be you.
Yeah.
You're saying you feel worse than you did, let's say, in the 90s or the noughties?
Yeah, I think so. I don't recall when I was like 10 years ago seeing people having their Rolexes taken off their hands. I don't recall seeing people on mopeds stealing phones 10 years ago. That's the crimes that I think people are now seeing and fearing, that there's a lawlessness around, because people, the criminals, feel they can do these things and get away with it.
OK, here's a question, right? When we look at those figures, and these are ONS figures, Office of National Statistics, the most important one there at the top, 31% rise over 1 year in fraud, scams. Why isn't Nigel talking about those?
Well, he's not talking about those because those aren't, those kind of, a fraud, generally speaking, is going to happen via email or these text messages and things. That's not what people are afraid of. People are afraid of the physical threat of
it's because crime. it doesn't bring that strong emotional response. Fraud, people don't resonate with you know, they don't think of fraud and it's not as shocking.
Yeah.
I think he needs that tangible, scary narrative to kind of project his kind of fear narrative.
Well, would you wear a Rolex out in central London after 9 p.m? Would you walk around by yourself with a Rolex on?
I mean, I don't think that people... Yeah, I would actually. I think being savvy and being safe, I do think it's awful. But the problem isn't the lawlessness, it's the lack of enforcement on specific crimes. So the visibility of crime is bigger than ever, despite crimes being down. So we are constantly bombarded with images on social media of all this shocking stuff happening.
Is he contributing to that by saying that this is a lawless country? Is it actually, if we're actually concerned about the fear of crime, isn't he adding fuel to the flame?
Absolutely, he's adding fuel to the fire. I've seen people walk in and out of shops in London. They don't cover their faces. They don't try and conceal their identity. They're walking in, taking whatever they like, whether it's alcohol, meat, toiletries. And I don't buy this narrative of, oh, it's a cost of living crisis, people are stealing food. They're not stealing food to eat. They're stealing stuff to sell.
Yeah.
And the reason they're not covering their faces is because they know for a fact that they're not going to be prosecuted for it, because the police are not investigating shoplifting. They're not investigating phone thefts. It's something like 120,000 phones were stolen in London alone.
Every 6 minutes in London, a phone is stolen. Every 6 minutes.
Okay. So what happens if you ring the police? You ring the police and they say, we'll give you a crime reference number. number and claim on your insurance. What a ridiculous thing to do. There was a couple that lived near me. I don't know them personally, but I saw the story in my local paper. They live in Chiswick, and they had their Jaguar SUV stolen. And they had very smartly put an Apple AirTag in it. And so they called the police and they said, our car's been stolen. We know exactly where it is. It's here on the street. And the police said, what do you want us to do? Just ring your insurance. It's gone. You know, there's no saying that it'll still be there. That might just be the
Again,
AirTag.
that's detection. That's not the incidence of the crime, because all the figures there, the scariest stuff is coming down. And certainly since the 1990s, the violent crime that we've seen has come down dramatically in that time.
But do you know what has changed in that time? Is the currency of fear is now, you know, everything is social media, right? So our attention...
Doom scrolling.
Our attention is so much more drawn towards negative things.
Okay, is that not, again, if the fear of the crime is the thing that we should be most concerned about, should we be suspicious of people who are saying that things are worse than they actually are?
Absolutely, absolutely. We should, but people like Nigel Farage is driving this narrative because it helps his case. It's fear-mongering, but they're all fear-mongering. All the stuff we see, whether it's, you know, even mainstream, mainstream media. You've got newspapers. You get everything. If you looked at the news, you'd think we're in the scariest times that we've ever lived in. But we've lived in the safest times we've ever lived in. But what we do have is our attentions are being pulled in all different directions, and the things that will keep our attention are the things that are the scariest.
I don't think Nigel is driving this. I think Nigel Farage is saying what many of us in this country feel, and that's it. You may not agree with him. You may think, OK, well, the stats say different. But if I'm seeing people stealing from shops and they don't care, if I'm seeing people jumping on trains without paying, that to me is lawlessness. OK, and that's what Nigel is saying.
So
guys, I'm not going to keep pausing the video, but it's absolutely fine to say Nigel Farage got this right. You can say that, it's fine. Everyone is feeling more scared in 2025. They wasn't feeling like this 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I was a small boy, but I was still alert enough to remember that people were not scared to wear their Rolexes out and about. You know, people weren't scared to just hold their phone and just check the weather without it getting swiped by a moped or by an e-bike. So it's fine to just say Nigel Farage has got it right. You know, the borders, people are just coming in, you know, at will. You know, you don't even know what they represent. They're coming in from cultures that don't share the same value system as Western cultures, and they don't care to integrate. They want to keep their culture because they believe their culture is more superior, and they're coming into the United Kingdom. And these are the men that's running around, walking around, and you know, there's kids going to school, there's women that need to get back at night, and this poses a safety risk. People wasn't feeling like this 20 years ago. There was still crime 20 years ago, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't the way it is now. Now it's just reckless. Back in the day, when it was dark, then you had to be careful, but now, 12 in the afternoon, people are getting robbed. 1 in the afternoon, people are getting robbed. 9 in the morning, people are getting robbed. So it's just, they don't even care now. So it's absolutely fine to just say, look, Nigel Farage got this right. This statistics is accurate as to how people are feeling. People are feeling more scared and they're not safe. Like, not everything is, oh, no, Nigel Farage is wrong here, he's wrong here. We're going to bring statistics to show Nigel Farage is wrong. I don't even know where they got the statistics from, but I'm sure if I go and check for some stats, it's not going to be how they're saying, because everything just seems worse off.
So whether it's news or whether it's social media, wherever you're seeing it, negative news attracts 63% more attention than neutral or negative news. So, you know, that's basically what's driving it. And Nigel's, he's capitalizing on that. He knows that crime is down, but what he's doing is saying, okay, let's make people afraid to make drastic action. And
let's take some calls. Thanks, guys. Christine's in Norfolk. Should Nigel Farage stop calling the country lawless? Is he running the country down, Christine?
I believe that he's correct. I believe that the judiciary are totally ignoring the guide given by the Bail Act and releasing people on bail when they clearly should be locked up.
Okay, our prisons are full. Our prisons are full, Christine. We've got early release schemes so that we free up space to include actually the people that were caught up in for instance, the riots after Southport. You know,
yes,
that's lawlessness. That's genuine lawlessness we see on our streets.
That is, and why are those people released? The government came in and immediately released prisoners who were due to serve lengthy sentences, and suddenly they were back out on the streets.
Okay, because we had no more space in our prisons.
Then that's something that should be dealt with.
Okay.
They haven't built prisons in years. So people, instead of going to prison, are released all ready to run away somewhere.
Okay, Christine, where you live in Norfolk, what incidences of lawlessness are you witnessing?
In the city, there are probably what I would say are youngsters' crimes, fights. There are also thefts. I mean, this is where figures get massaged because the crime could be probably a charge of robbery, but gets reduced to a crime of theft.
Okay.
So this is where figures get massaged.
Okay, we've got robbery down by 3%. We've got theft up by 4%. As I understand it, robbery includes some kind of aggravation, some kind of violence. Theft could be pickpocketing. So do you not trust these figures, Christine? Is that what you're saying here?
I don't trust the figures, no. I think the gentleman just stated that he had a different set of figures.
Well, I'm going to go with the Office of National Statistics. Call me old-fashioned. I'm going to take that as my gold standard. What's wrong with that?
As I say, they get massaged, that's why.
I think Christine makes a very good point, Matt, because several people I know who've had, for example, their phone stolen don't even bother to report the crime because they feel nothing's going to happen, so the crime doesn't get reported.
We've only got ourselves to blame for that, haven't we? I mean,
No,
if
you've ever tried to ring the police to report a crime like this, it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
The only reason you'll actually ring the police is to get a crime reference number so that you can claim on your insurance.
Okay, I believe the ONS figures are based on surveys rather than crime reports
which is
as
probably
such.
more reliable.
You would think people would be more open that way than they would if they were deterred from reporting the crime in the first place. But you have to get a crime number to get an insurance
Are we
claim.
not living in a bit of a Black Mirror sort of situation where there's people currently serving time in prison for sending offensive social media messages, yet there's people stealing phones and brazenly stealing from shops when they have absolutely no fear of being arrested?
I don't take incitement to violence as being a minor thing. If people are going to get hurt,
it's not always incitement to violence.
Why should it be one thing and not the other? I mean, why can't it be both? Why can't we prosecute both of those crimes?
It can be both, but we're not prosecuting the shoplifters and the phone stealers. They're not being prosecuted. That's why they're doing it, because they have absolutely no recourse. It's selective enforcement. So, and I don't blame the police. They're working within whatever framework they've got, but whatever the system is now is not working. The fact that thieves do not care, they're not trying to hide themselves. They're not trying to hide what they're doing. They're not afraid. So
that sense of brazenness, do you think that affects people's fear of crime? Is that it seems to be too open at the moment?
Seeing videos of bike gangs with chainsaws or
open in the middle of the day.
You're seeing videos of them, JJ. They're not happening in your street, and that's what I wonder. It's just the way that we are recording these things and sharing them is contributing to our fears. Exactly what Claudia said.
I stopped a bike thief myself. I spoke about it on the show before. There's video footage and pictures of me holding a bike thief down for an hour waiting for the police to turn up. It's happening all over the place. By me, Broadway Market, where I live, Dalston, bike thefts are through the roof. And people will have their bike stolen in the morning and they'll go onto whatever site they're being sold on and get them back in the afternoon.
Okay, listen, we're going to move on.
All right, so guys, 3 things very quick to summarize. Number one, the interviewer is very, very woke, and he believes the ONS figures religiously. And he's just woke anyway. Like, how he was directing the conversation was super, super woke. He's against Nigel Farage. You can just tell from how he's engineering the conversation. He's trying to fight for Labour and say, hey, it's not as bad as people think it is. We're not stupid. We understand when we go out in London how things are. So I don't know why he's trying to gaslight us to make us think that, nah, it's not that bad. The statistics from the ONS show that, things are coming down. It's green, which, I do not believe. So that's number one. Number two, he said that incitement to violence. So what he's basically saying is, Brits in the UK that have been making Facebook posts, Instagram posts, Twitter posts, and have been going to jail, they deserve to do that because they're inciting violence. And it's like, hang on, there's a lot of people that were just expressing, their concerns for certain things, and they're being sent to jail, which isn't right. On top of you releasing criminals, this Labour government releasing proper criminals, and what people are saying online is taking them to jail. And a lot of them aren't even inciting violence. They're just saying their concerns. They're stating their concerns, and they're being, you know, sent to jail, which isn't right. But according to this interview, he said, hey, you know, if they make these tweets, they should go to jail. So again, this interviewer, like, this is terrible from him. And the third point is Claudia Hearn actually did well towards the end to articulate that there are concerns, and, you know, this Labour government shouldn't be releasing criminals. You know, that's absolutely fine, and I commend her for that. But she just needs to stop with this anti-Nigel Farage rhetoric. You know, you don't need to be saying he's fear-mongering. You know, everyone's scared, and it's okay to say that Nigel Farage got it right, because he did get it right. You know, crime just feels crazy. You know, it is lawless. UK is lawless. What are we talking about? You know, so she did well towards the end, Claudia Hearn, by saying that, yeah, you know, we need to crack down on criminals, but she just needs to just leave Nigel Farage alone. You know, just leave him alone. The more you keep doing this, I'm telling you, over these next couple of years, the more you're going to be pushing up his ratings, the more people are going to be jumping on that reform, you know, that reform train, and they're going to, you know, elect him and reform. So I've been saying that, watch it happen in the next couple of years. But anyway, guys, let me know in the comment section down below what you think. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.